Hey folks, welcome back to the Edupedia world, and I am Abhinay Gupta. And today again we would be continuing with the prevention of operation and mismanagement. Right? So far we have covered the basics of all the operations of mismanagement, what they mean, what they construe, how do they take place, what are the provisions related to it. All these things and conditions we have already seen in the previous lectures. Right? Now what is still left for us to understand is how does CLB deal with it? Right? That means today we'll go ahead to understand the power of the company law board to prevent operation and mismanagement. And for that purpose, we will undergo a study of section 402, 403, 404 and 407. Right? So when we talk about the power of CLB, so we will also see the influence of the central government, the company law board, and what power do they have over and above the different aspects, like powers that they have over and above the memorandum, the article, any agreement, right? Agreement with either directors or third party or whatever, right? Some are discretionary powers, some are in consultation with the central government. How do they override and actually they ultimately lead to a situation where operation and mismanagement is controlled? Right? So let us see in this lecture as to how CLB takes action to prevent the operation and mismanagement. Okay? To start with, we will deal with section 402, some specific powers that the company law board has. Right? So if you refer back to section 397 and 398 that dealt with operation and mismanagement, there was a requisite number of members who used to raise their request for claiming the relief from the same. And that requisite number of members was specified in section 399. Right? So whom did they make an application is something we need to see. So all those people who made an application, they made an application to the company law board, right, for claiming relief from their operation and mismanagement that they underwent. Right? Then what will the company law board do? The company law board would get into a due inquiry. Right? And after the inquiry, whatever they evaluate the situation to be, then they would make such orders as they consider necessary. Necessary for what? Necessary for bringing an end to the matter which was complained of. Right? And for this particular purpose, the company law board has been vested with immense power and wide amplitude to grant the relief from operation and mismanagement. So this, if you talk about this amplitude that they have received, right, it is wide. So there are unrestricted powers also that they have, where they sometimes even may override the company's act. Right? When the situation arises, what they do, what they don't do, now we will see that in detail. Right? So for that, when we go ahead to understand the specific powers, right, the first thing is the affairs of the company. So the CLB has the right or has the power to regulate the affairs of the company. Right? So the company, right, they have a certain procedure and a format for conducting their affairs, right, their operation, I would say. Right? So when CLB sees that, okay, the operation or the platform or the manner in which the company is operating is actually a challenge. Because of this operation and because of this lack of control, there is operation and mismanagement. Right? So this operation of the company has to be checked. Right? There has to be some modification into it, some alteration into it. Right? So CLB can pass any order as per the basis of their inquiry and as per what they deem fit to regulate the affairs of the company, the conduct of the affairs of the company, and that will have future effect. So okay, till date you were doing this, but now in order to avoid mismanagement and the operation, company should be behaving like this. No matter from where did you pick up what you were doing. Is it mentioned in your article? Is it mentioned in a memorandum? Is it mentioned in the law? Wherever it is. But if that is not going good for you, company law board makes an inquiry and tells them on the face, look, this is not going good for you, change it to this. And as I say, change means change. So it's an order that they pass. right? It's not a recommendation. It's an order that the company law board may pass and the company has to abide by the same. Right? Next, shares of the members. Yes. So shares of the members can be purchased. You know, right? So share trading is always a procedure. Yeah, this also reminds me about SEBI, right? So we'll get back to SEBI also very soon. So an order for purchase of the shares or the interest that any member has in the company, right, by any other member of the same company. So there were, for example, 100 members. There were some who did not do well or somebody who had problem. Whatever be the scenario, if company law board thinks that no, these people, they should be either relieved by taking their shares back from them, okay, you are free, or they should not be allowed to hold the shares. So in that scenario also, company law board will ask the other members to purchase their shares. And whatever company law board says has to be done. Right? You cannot refer back to any rights as per your article, memorandum or anything like that. If company law board says that yes, this member's share has to be taken by this member, they will have to. Right? Over here what happened, if you see, then if the shares are purchased from one member and it goes on to the other member, the share capital of the company is not altered at all. Right? So the share capital of the company still remains constant. What changes is the person who is holding the share. The shares are the same, the money is the same, the share certificate is the same, everything is the same. Just the person who is actually holding those shares, they change. Right? So if you purchase the share of a member and then if it results to reduction of share, what do you do? Right? So there can be an order even in that scenario. So CLB may order for purchase of the share or interest of any member by the company itself also. Right? It is not necessarily to be done by the members. If they want the company to take it over, the company will take it over. Okay with that? So what will happen then? If company takes it over, then consequently the reduction of share capital of the company will take place. Right? And for this, in general scenario, you have to take some approval from the court as well. Right? If you look back, because over here we are referring to the old sections, the old Companies Act 1956. So as per Companies Act 1956, there was a section 100 of Companies Act 1956, according to which there was a sanction of the court required if the company wants to buy back the shares. Right? But when CLB orders the company, please go ahead and buy back your shares from these members, although they will result in through the reduction of the share capital of the company will do that without any sanction of the court. Right? So actually what I mean to say is the company law board has a lot of power. They have wide range of power that has been given to them. Getting the point? Right? So even when they want a member's share or interest to be taken back, they can order some other member to take it back. Share capital remains same, no issue, easily done. But even if there's a situation where the shares have to be bought back by the company itself, right, then there's a challenge. If it's bought back by the company itself, then there's a challenge that there is a reduction in share capital. But what this section says is that you will not have to get a sanction from the court. It's the power of the company law board to answer you the same, and that is done. Right? Next, if we look into the matter of agreements with the directors or the managers. Right? When I talk about manager, I also talk about MDs and other directors, right? So please consider that cumulative. So manager and directors. Directors would include managing director, whole-time director, all directors. They're all directors, right? It's a general term, we use directors. And manager, since he is not a director, we would use a separate term, manager. So may it be a director, may it be a manager. If the company has an agreement with them, what can be done with that agreement is something we need to understand. Right? So company law board has the power to make an order that any agreement, any means any sort of agreement with that managing director or whole-time director or a manager, whosoever it is, that can be terminated or set aside. on the discretion of the company law board. They think that this agreement is not good enough. If there is a minute problem, they may modify the agreement, right? Or there are certain terms and conditions that may be altered by the CLB. But if they think no, entire agreement makes no sense, right? They can also terminate that agreement or set it aside. They don't need it anymore, right? So whatever the company law board feels just and equitable, they'll do it. No restrictions, nobody stops them, and whatever they order has to be done. Right? Now, what are the consequences of termination of certain agreements? That is what we need to again see in this. Right? And that is dealt by section 407 actually. So if we ask you what is section 407 of Companies Act 1956, section 407 deals with the consequences of termination of certain agreements. Right? So where any agreement, if you look, if it is terminated, set aside or modified, right, then there are certain consequences that would follow. Right? So I had an agreement, or the company had an agreement with the director as to his operation, as to the appointment of director and as to the powers given to them. What CLB does is comes and sets aside the entire agreement, as if the agreement has no presence at all. There was no agreement made at all. Now, do you think the director will be capable or eligible enough to hold the office? He was holding office on the basis of certain agreement with the company. Now that agreement is terminated. What happens to the office of the director? Yes, you're right. It has to be vacated. Right? So if there is any managing director, any manager, any other director, anybody, they shall vacate the office as from the date of the order by the company law board. Right? Now, when we say that the directors, they need to vacate the office, right, and they need to move out of the company, don't you think it is a little unjust to them in ordinary circumstance? Yes, it is. So in ordinary circumstance, if a director is asked to vacate the office, right, then the director is eligible to certain compensations as well. Right? Do you think the director will be eligible for a compensation over here? Answer is no. Right? Because why is the director removed? It is because the company law board thinks that some procedures that have been followed, or the conduct that has been followed by the director, or the procedure that has taken place has resulted in operation or mismanagement. And when CLB inquires the entire situation and then finds out that the agreement that the director has with the company is actually impacting or is the reason behind the same operation and mismanagement, then to curb it and to put a full stop on that operation and mismanagement, the company law board would move ahead and set aside the entire agreement in that case. And when that agreement is set aside, the director has to vacate the office because the director was there in the capacity of a director on the basis of that agreement only. Right? Now, since the agreement doesn't exist, the director will not exist. Right? And over here, he cannot claim any compensation for that. And understand one more thing, that when company law board is passing such an order, as I've already told, company law board has immense power in this section. So whatever they say cannot be overridden by other things. Right? That means if you know in general, if you want to remove a director, there is a set of procedures that you need to follow. And that procedure is prescribed under section 284 of the old act. Right? So that you don't get confused, I will not always mention the 1956 and 2003. Right? The only thing I'll say is old act, new act. Right? So section 284 of the old act said that they laid down the various procedures that had to be followed before the director was asked to vacate the office. Okay? So now what will happen in this situation? Do you think that after company law board has given such an order, the entire procedure will begin? Answer is no. Without following the procedures of 284, the director or the manager, they'll have to vacate the office. Right? They're not bound to follow any of such things. Right? Because company law board has unlimited power in all these situations. But this is not the end. A director was a reason behind a mismanagement. It was a fault, maybe deliberate, maybe unknowingly, we don't know. But there was some incidents that this company law board thought that to put a stop on this, the director has to be removed or the agreement has to be terminated. So do you think that director should be allowed to go and start with any other company at the same time? No, because it's a threat on the other company as well, that there could also be mismanagement. So as a punishment, the director is not only removed from that company, but is also barred from taking up the same position in any other company. When I say the same position, we're talking about the managerial position. So no manager, managing director, whole-time director, whosoever they are, right, whose agreement is terminated or set aside by CLB in this situation or in this circumstance, he shall not act as a manager or a managing director or a director of such company for a period of 5 years. So this word such actually saved it. Right? Because the other company knows. See what happens. If I am a director in this company, I have a playground in this company. Right? It is just and it is very much logical that he should not be taken in any other company. So CLB extends the punishment. But CLB cannot stop him or CLB will not stop him from entering any other company because the other company will know that this director, why did he terminate the office? As per his documents, they will understand that this guy has been terminated because of certain things. How will that person understand this? Because he will not go through the procedures of 284. Getting the point? Now, even then, if the other company wants to appoint him as a director, it is their discretion. If something happens, CLB will interfere at that point of time when the complaint is raised. Otherwise, it's okay. But in this company, since the alarm is already raised and CLB is charged, CLB will not let the director come back again. So CLB says for the next 5 years at least, the director will not be allowed to come back to the company. It's like, okay, today CLB removed him. Again, next year you make an agreement and get him in. That is not allowed. Right? In case you are so desperate to get the director back, things are sorted and you think the company cannot run without him. Maybe he made some mismanagement. So if you still want that director back so desperately, what you can do is you can keep the director once CLB's permission is opted on the same. So you go and prove the CLB, that company law board, this is the issue. It is difficult for us to manage the company without that person. There was this problem, but this problem will not be there in future. Company wants to take him back. He wants to come back. Do we have your permission? If company law board says, okay, go ahead, take him back, you can. Otherwise, you cannot. Do you get the point? So the company law board may grant such a permission. But before granting such a permission, right, company law board will also give an opportunity to the central government, and that opportunity will be an opportunity to be heard. So the company law board will hear from the central government as to what they have to say on this issue. Will they allow the director to get back to the company? If everything goes well, congratulations to the director. If no, we are sorry. Right? Those kind of a situation. Next is what is to be done with the agreement with the third parties. Now third parties are outside, right? So whatever agreement they had an agreement with the company for maybe selling something, taking something, providing certain services, taking up some property, whatever. Anybody who is outside the company and then dealing with the company or getting into any agreement with the company is a third party. Right? They are all third parties. So the company law board may make an order that may direct the third party also that the agreement that they have with the company will be terminated or set aside. Right? But for that, they'll give a due notice to the third party. For the case of the director, they can directly come and set it aside. But if the third party is involved, right, a notice will first go to them that listen, this is the issue, this is what we're going to do, and now we terminate or modify your contract. Right? So if you want to terminate and set aside, give a notice, terminate. But if you want to modify, right, then there are certain conditions and certain things that you need to again agree upon. So terms and conditions, right? So if you're modifying it, if you're modifying any third party's agreement, then a consent of the third party for that modification has to be received. So like if I think, as company law board, if I think that okay, I need this agreement to be modified a little bit on this extent, it may be harsh on anybody after modification. It may be a burden on the company, it may be a burden on the third party, but something or the other will happen, right? The exact proportion will shift either to the left or to the right. So what will they do is, for that modification, they will discuss and get the consent of the third party, and third party should ideally agree. Because if they do not agree and the company law board thinks that this agreement as it is in the shape it is right now cannot be allowed to operate without modification, and if they do not allow modification, it will be terminated. Right? So there's a large risk over there also. And even if that is terminated, they don't get any compensation. Right? The third party shall also not be eligible to claim any damage for that compensation for loss that is arising because the termination or modification of such agreement has taken place by an order of CLB. Getting the point? So even third party is at risk. Okay? Now do you understand what is a fraudulent preference? Have you ever come across this word earlier? Anybody, if you lay some stress on your brain? I think yes. We have come across this term earlier also during our course of study, but again I'll give you a brief about what a fraudulent preference is. Right? So you remember, if you go back, then in the chapter of winding up, we have covered this. A fraudulent preference. So basically what happens is, if I know that my company is gonna be wound up or dissolved in some coming time, and then the assets and liability, the net asset of the company will be divided in the preference. Right? So there are certain preferences that have been laid down in the law. Right? But I think that somebody very dear or very close to me, or somebody with whom I have some adjustments, that person's preference is gonna come a little late, and I don't think the company has enough asset to satisfy that person's debt or the liability. So what do? When I know this, I will mark an asset in his favor. We'll get into an agreement or we'll get into an adjustment where an asset is already marked to his favor. Right? That is the fraudulent preference. That means on that preference, on that asset, if that asset is sold in the event of winding up or liquidation or something, then the receipt, right, what you recover from that asset will be given to this person. So can you do that? No. You cannot do that. Otherwise, those workmen and the labor and the employees, all of them will be in trouble if you set off all the assets like that. So the company law board is very strict on this. So they do not allow any fraudulent preferences to occur. Right? If you have any order where you set aside or transfer, or there's a delivery of goods that is promised, right? There's any payment due, execution of any other thing related to any property or something, these things have been got into an agreement, right, which was made within 3 months before the date of the application. So today somebody raised an application about operation or mismanagement, and within previous 3 months you got into an agreement with somebody, and you are thought of laying an fraudulent preference to that person. Right? Then such an order shall be made only if the circumstance suggests, right? And then it is deemed to be a fraudulent preference. It will be set aside. Right? So this only does not take place in the case of winding up liquidation. It also takes place in the case of an insolvency. That if I am being insolvent and you're selling away all my assets, I have attached a fraudulent preference to somebody else. And then that somebody comes and claims that, okay, this asset is sold, this money is mine, rest distribute among whomsoever you want to distribute. Right? Now, moving ahead, one more thing that we need to see over here is the general relief. Right? So apart from this, if there is any other relief that the company law board thinks is required to be given, right, they would allocate that general relief as well. So in addition to the orders that we have already seen, the company law board may make such additional offers as it deems fit in order to provide the relief from that operation or mismanagement, right? So that is a general relief. So apart from these specific things, there can be any other general things that the company law board can go ahead to do and orders that it can specify, right? And that would give relief only in terms of the matters which is complained of. Because now when we are discussing this entire aspect, right, we have to keep in mind that we are discussing all this with respect to certain complaints that have been made, right? So wherever we are finding that remedy has to be against that complaint. So we are trying to nullify that complaint and that issue, right? And then always remember that all the powers of the company law board are illustrative only, right? When you see all the powers which has been enumerated under section 402, right, they're all illustrative in nature, right? So they can just go ahead as an illustration and look into the matter and take their judgment and then make an action on it. And that action and the powers that has been given to CLB is very wide. So these are not the only specific things that CLB can do. If that is an illustration for them, then to solve it out, they can go ahead to do whatever they want to do in general. So a contract or an agreement with the directors, agreement with the third parties, general relief, all these things the company law board can get ahead to do, right? But the focus is to end the operation and mismanagement, right? Next point is the interim order, section 403, right? So what is an interim order? If you consider the term interim, right? So earlier we have come across the term interim audit, interim report, right? So this is an interim order. That means before making the final order, there is another order that pops up, which is an interim order, and which will be finalized when we get the final order, right? So the company law board, right, when they receive an application on any part of the proceeding, they can make an interim order when they are in the middle of the proceeding, right? When the proceeding, they think that, okay, there are some more complications that need to be tackled. Prior to that, they make an interim order with the same, right? In order to regulate the company's affairs, right? And that is made pending the final offer. So it will be finalized only when they receive the final order. But since the company is going on, there are certain affairs that are pending. So to regulate that affair, there can be an interim order that will be made, right? Then the order can stipulate such terms and conditions as may appear to the company law board to be just and equitable, right? So it is not sure that only a final order will be made and by that time the company can do whatever they do. So if they think that the company is getting into any affair which may lead to some other direction, so they will pass on an interim order that, listen, these things cannot be done, right? For the meantime, please cater to what I'm saying, avoid these things and follow these things, right? And by the time you do this, I'll be completing the entire schedule and the case, and I'll come back with the final order, and that will be an order. But this is a guidance to you basically. It's again an order, but a guidance order that these are something you're not supposed to do and these are something you are supposed to do. So it's a guidance thing, right? So when can it be made? It can be made during the proceeding. And what are the terms of the interim order? We have shared. Okay with it? Now next point that we'll see is the power to alter the memorandum or article, section 404. Right. So what do you think has the power with the company law board? Right. What powers do the company law board possess in order to alter memorandum and article? Whose permission are they supposed to take? What procedures are they supposed to follow? Is anything coming in your mind? If there is something popping up in your mind as to an inclusion or a support of some other procedure or some other body, please flush it out of your mind. Company law board has enough power to amend or alter them without any consultation with anybody else. Right? So if they want to alter the memorandum or article, they can do that. They are empowered to make any alteration in the memorandum or the article of association of the company. Right? And that will have the same effect as if it was duly made via the special resolution passed by the company. right? Because otherwise, if you want to get your article and memorandum amended, what procedures do you have? The only procedure available with you is to go back to the general meeting of the members and ask them for permission to alter it. If they allow, right, if they decide in the general meeting by passing a resolution that okay, it can be altered, then there is a procedure of altering it, right? The same effect will be considered if the company law board orders such an amendment. Are you clear? Right? So if there's a particular regulation in the article of the company which was capable of being misused by whosoever is trying to get into that operation or mismanagement. There's a particular article and they think, okay, there's a loophole, right? Let us misuse this. Then in order to prevent the members from exercising their ordinary right to demand a poll, the company law board ordered the amendment of such article as per the case that has already happened in 1985, which was Sebastian versus City Hospital Private Limited. So if we look at that, then we understand, right, that if they're trying to get ahead with any advantage or if they're trying to misuse the article or memorandum specifying that, okay, this has been inserted in the article, according to the article we are performing, so we are not at fault, right? And later on it will be difficult to prove they are at fault because it has been done as per the article, right? So the company law board in that case went ahead to alter the article. And similarly, the company law board even today is eligible to do the same, right? The company law board is empowered to either reframe or insert a new article altogether as well, right? And that article may be against the company's memorandum or the other article and even against the Companies Act. So can you imagine the immense power that has been laid with the company law board? This is humongous. Whatever is written in your memorandum, whatever is written in your article, whatever may be written in the Companies Act. If the company law board thinks that a necessary amendment has to be made against all these in order to satisfy or counter the oppression and mismanagement, in order to provide relief to the complainant, then they are eligible enough to do that. Right? They have been granted enough power to do that. Right? But there's only one constraint over there, that such an order is necessary to put an end to the matters complained of. It should only be related and it should only result into providing the relief. Nothing else. Right? Then further alteration to require permission of the company law board. Right? First we have mentioned alteration by CLB. Then if you want to further alter, that means now I was company law board. I went into the company because somebody complained that the companies are not performing adequately. What do? I went to them, I go to them and I see that their article and their memorandum has certain clauses which are not fit. That means which can be misused. I order a new article inclusion. I order an amendment of the same. What happens? It will be amended, right? But how is an article or memorandum generally amended? By a resolution in the general meeting. So after I amended and changed a clause, if there is a general meeting that re-amends the same and gets it back to the normal, will that be allowed? No, right? That is something that the Act wants to specify also. That once the company law board has amended an article, you cannot reverse it back. Right? So further alteration does not mean company law board is coming in to alter further. It is about that article, that clause will not be further re-alterated to get back to the original position. Right? So anything that the company even does, right, would have to be consistent with the alteration already made by the company law board. They cannot re-alter and get back to the old position. Right? It does not restrict them from altering it at all. If you're altering it and that is in consistency with what CLB has done, you are okay to do that. But if it is not in consistency with what the CLB has done, right, you will not be allowed to make it. Right? It will not have any effect. Right? And otherwise, what they say is generally go and take permission from CLB if you're altering it. So CLB will give permission only when it is inconsistent with what CLB has done. Right? They'll not say, okay, I amended it, you can re-amend it. Go, my friend, go. That's not the case, right? So thus, if once the company law board has altered an article which is contained in the articles of the company cannot make any alteration which is calculated to reduce the effect of the alteration made by the company law board. It's not only altering, if it is also reducing the effect, you are not allowed to do the same. Right? So filing of the copy of order of the company law board is to be done with the registrar. Right? So you'll have to file a certified copy of every order that the company law board has made. Right? And which has an effect on the memorandum. That means which has an effect of altering the memorandum or the article of association, or which grants a permission to the company to alter its memorandum or article of association in future. Right? So there was a certain clause. What the company law board did is that it passed an order to alter that article or that memorandum, right? And further given some power to the company also that if you want to re-alter this further to this, you may do it in future. Right? Or in general also they told that this clause can be a little problematic in future. So if you think it is creating a problem, alter it if that permission is also granted. Right? Then that is an alteration in memorandum and article. And anything that is altered in the memorandum and article, the amendment has to go to the registrar, because even the registrar has to be aware of what has been amended. Right? So whatever order comes from the CLB, you will send a copy of that order to the registrar as well. Right? And that will be filed with the registrar within 30 days of the order of the company law board, not about the amendment. Today company law board orders, within 30 days registrar has to know. Right? Why do you wait for amendment? Is there a chance that you will not amend? No. You will have to amend anyways. So as soon as you receive the order, file it back to the registrar, and you on the other hand keep on that amendment and update the registrar as well about the same. Right? Are you guys okay with that? Is that understood? So that is section 404, 403, 402 that we have completed. Right? So in the next lecture we'll move ahead with another discussion, and that is about the appointment of the directors by the central government now, which is section 408. Right? But that section will be taken up only in the next lecture. So until then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you and bye-bye. I'll see you guys back in the next lecture.